Hey, what's going on, guys? The Horror Man back, putting a positive spin on the Psycho remake. The Psycho remake is infamous for being one of the worst or most hated remakes ever made. Because of this, it was an obvious choice for Jason and I to discuss during this positive spin series. Originally, though, we planned to do this one later on, but with the recent passing of Anne H., we decided to move it up in memory of her. Rest in peace to Anne H., who took on the role of Marion Crane in this remake, played by Janet Leigh in the original. So here's the thing, guys. This remake gets a lot of hate. A lot of people complain about it because it's basically a shot-for-shot remake of Hitchcock's classic. Is it really a shot-for-shot remake, though? Well, not quite. It's important to keep in mind while watching this that director Gus Van Sant planned this film as an experiment. He didn't set out to make a groundbreaking movie. Many people would have you believe that this Psycho remake is just a colorized version of Hitchcock's Psycho. And while that is true in a way, it's much more than that. Van Sant did make some changes. It is not a shot-for-shot remake as some people claim. For one thing, it's set in 1998, not 1960. There are other changes to the story as well, which I won't go into because this isn't a review. This is a positive spin, so here are my positives about the Psycho remake. First of all, this VHS cover art. This was the original poster art of the movie, and I've always loved it. That's creepy. Gus Van Sant is incredibly talented, and his talent shines in this movie. The casting choices were brilliant, in my opinion. I know some people won't agree, but that's okay. I really like the cast. And yes, that even includes Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates, who gets a lot of grief for this role. He definitely comes across as a more unstable version of the character, and that's okay, because this isn't meant to be the same movie. While Anthony Perkins' portrayal came across as more charming and likable with a bit of social awkwardness, Vince Vaughn's portrayal is basically a man-child. You can clearly see he has mental issues, but that's okay in this remake, because in this one, we already know he's the killer. In Hitchcock's original Psycho, that was meant to be a mystery. Now, I know just because of the spoilers of time, pretty much all of us know Norman Bates is the killer, even in the original Psycho. But when the movie was released, that wasn't necessarily the case. The audience was meant to sympathize with Norman Bates. Like I said, Anthony Perkins came across as a charming, likable guy, abused by his mother. Vince Vaughn also comes across as an abused son, but he's clearly a psycho. Again, that's okay. It's not meant to be a surprise revelation at the end of this one. Anne H. was great as Marion in this remake. Julianne Moore was a good modern-day Lila. Viggo Mortensen is cool as Sam Loomis. And I love William H. Macy as Arbogast. James Remar, who plays the patrolman at the beginning of the film, looks exactly like the patrolman in the beginning of the original Psycho. It's uncanny. Gus Van Sant somehow found a way to make it look like he sort of superimposed the new cast over the original cast of characters. It's almost like your mind plays tricks on you because you're used to seeing this movie set in the 60s. Despite everything around clearly being from the 90s, you still feel like you're watching a 60s film, and I really like that. Of course, the amount of money Marion steals at the beginning is adjusted for inflation, rightfully so. A lot of people take issue with the self-love scene of Norman Bates, but I actually think it works in this. Obviously, that scene is not in the original, so it was something new that Gus Van Sant decided to add to the story. But, I mean, doesn't it make sense he would do that? Norman Bates, I mean. Mother doesn't want him with other women, so he has to take care of himself. And then when Mother catches him committing that action, that's when the first murder takes place. The infamous shower scene, reshot for this remake. Again, even that scene is not shot for shot. Going back to the fact that there is no surprise as to the identity of the killer in this remake, that helps with the shower scene itself. The way the killer looks, Vince Vaughn, dressed in that robe and that wig, it's so creepy. In Hitchcock's original, the killer genuinely looks like it could be an older woman. In this remake, however, it's pretty evident that it's a man dressed in drag. Just the way the wig looks disheveled, and there is this really scary shot of his eyes, it all works. That for me is a huge positive for this movie. With that being said, that, along with anything mentioned in this video, doesn't take anything away from the original. I hate when people say that. They act like a remake or even a sequel can ruin a franchise or ruin a movie that came before it. How? How does this remake somehow ruin the original? The 1960 Psycho still exists in its actual form. This movie being made did not change that in any way. Someone not liking this remake, or any remake for that matter, shouldn't affect how they feel about the original. And also, that brings me to my next question. What is it that people want in a remake? I know there are those who will say they don't want remakes at all and they shouldn't be made, but why? It's more horror. I'll never understand that mindset either, saying a movie shouldn't be made, or an original film shouldn't be touched. Again, a remake doesn't change the original. This one gets a lot of criticism, again, for being considered shot for shot and too similar to the original. But then I ask, if that's the case, and you love the original so much, then why wouldn't you also love this one? But then, if you admit that there are differences in this one, which there are, you can't use the excuse that you hate it because it's shot for shot. See where I'm going? Do you hate remakes because they're too much of the same, or because they're too different? You know, like the Child's Play remake, for example. A lot of people say that one is too different, so they hate it. But if it was too much of the same, like Psycho, you'd say you hate it anyway. What am I missing here? Again, maybe people just don't want remakes in general, and that's fine. But stop making up lame excuses for why you hate them. At least make it make sense. I love the opening credits. It's awesome seeing them in color. I also love hearing the modified original score. It was really cool seeing James LeGros, who played Michael in Phantasm 2, in this. And there is some gorgeous camera work in this film. At the end of the day, this is not a bad film by any stretch of the word. I wouldn't even say it's a bad remake. What's a bad remake? No matter how good or bad this Psycho remake was, people were going to hate it. It was never going to compare to the original. But that was never Van Sant's intention. While I can understand people ranking this low or even last in their ranking of the Psycho franchise, I just don't see hating it. It's not worth the hate. In my opinion, there is plenty to like about this Psycho remake, but you don't have to agree. This is just my positive spin. Be sure to check out Jason's as well. To which hated film will we next give a positive spin? Check back soon to find out. Until then, what are your thoughts on the Psycho remake? Comment below and let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that thumbs up and be kind. Subscribe.